So I had my first personal experience with a panic attack, and it was scary as hell. And this was not a, oh, the Chiefs are down by 8 late in the fourth quarter and it's fourth and long kind of thing. This was a real Tony Soprano chest clutching. I can't breathe. I think that I'm dying, or at the very least having a heart attack, or maybe just completely losing my mind kind of things. And if you've never experienced a panic attack before, let me explain what it was like for me. Sat down on the edge of the bed. I was getting ready to go to sleep. And I just closed my eyes for just a quick second. And then I don't know what triggered it, but just immediately I began that descent into darkness. And you know that voice that you can always hear inside your head that talks you through the day, helps you make decisions, all of that. That voice kind of faded off into the distance, and only the negative part of that voice was left. And so after that sane part had vanished, then it was just the negative part, and it was this triangle of negative cyclical thoughts that just kept repeating itself over and over again. And so the triangle went like this. At the top of the triangle, it seemed like it was that voice saying, you go on stage and you tell kids how to manage their mental health, but your mental health hasn't been in a good place lately. And so you're a fraud, and so you shouldn't go on stage to tell people how to manage their mental health. But tomorrow you're getting on a stage to tell people how to manage their mental health, but your mental health isn't in a good place, so you're a fraud. And it was just this cycle that I could not break out of. And every time it went around, it got more and more vicious and more dark, and I felt more and more sucked in. And you know those space saver vacuums that you use, like the bag that you can suck the air out of so that you can pack more efficiently? It was like I was stuck inside a giant one of those bags. And every time that triangle went around, it was like more air got sucked out of that bag, and it was slowly suffocating the life out of me. And there was absolutely nothing that I could do to pull myself out of it. And I could hear the sane part of that inner voice. It sounded like it was way off in the distance, trying to give me instruction. And it was like, breathe, just breathe. If you just take a big deep breath, you'll be able to break this cycle and get out of this thing. But I couldn't force myself to do it. It was the strangest sensation. And then after what felt like an absolute eternity, and it may have only been a few seconds, I have no idea. But after what felt like an eternity, I was finally able to just like take a big gasp. And when I gasped, my eyes immediately snapped open and I came back to reality. And it was absolutely petrifying. And the scariest part of it is I have no idea what brought it on. Like, there was no triggering moment. There was no one thing in that day that caused me to get into that negative thought loop. And ever since then, every single day, I've had at least a little bit of me that's been concerned that might hit at the worst possible time. Maybe when I'm on stage talking to a group of kids, or maybe when I'm in a meeting or in a phone call, something like that, or in front of my own kids. And like, I've had some brushes with death in my life, and this was way more terrifying. The reason being, in those other instances, I had some control over the outcome, and this is one of the few times in my life where I felt completely out of control. And while I hope that I never ever have to go through that again, I'm intensely grateful for the experience, because I have some people in my life that I care about that have major panic disorder. And this one instance sitting on the corner of my bed gave me just a peek at what they have to deal with every single day. And I think all of us could benefit from seeing things from other people's perspective. And there, for just a minute, I got a glimpse of it, and it wasn't pretty. Okay? And it's not something that I would ever wish upon anybody. So why am I posting about this now? Why wait 2 weeks? Why wait so long? Quite frankly, it's because I was scared. Because just about everything that I post on our social media channels for the Jones Project, it's positive, it's uplifting, or it's advice. Like, I'm the dude that wears shirts that say things like it's cool to talk about mental health, right? And like, I've created this facade of this guy that always has his stuff together. And I get all kinds of messages from people. It's like, hey, what should I do about this situation? What should I do about, and like, I love helping people out. But at the same time, I've put forth this image of a person that has all of the answers on this thing. And I learned that night that I don't, man. And I knew that beforehand, but that just gave me a peek into how many things are out there that I have no idea about. But this whole confluence of events made me realize that if I don't share the tough stuff as well as the positive stuff, if I don't put out there that yes, I get on stage and I talk about this thing and how you can manage it, but at the same time, I still have really freaking hard days every once in a while. If I don't do that, then I'm no better than that one who's trying to get you to buy the latest fat loss supplement or skincare routine. And please don't take this as a pity post. Like, I'm not putting this up here so I can get a bunch of comments that are like, oh, Coach Parker, we believe in you. You can do it. Like, that ain't it, man. Like, that's not why I'm posting this. I'm putting this up here because this long, rambling message, in a way, all comes back to critical step number one that we've talked about in every single school that we've been to. So if you've heard me on stage before, you've heard me say that critical step number one when you're fighting this mental health battle is to understand that you're not alone in the way that you feel. You're not, because these mental health struggles, they don't just affect the person that fits that stereotype, whatever the stereotype may be, right? It also affects that elite level athlete and that cheerleader and that section leader in band and that captain of industry and those leaders of our society. It even affects that old PE teacher that goes on stage and tells people how to manage their mental health. And if you've made it to the end of this video and you're struggling, I don't know how else to say it, but from the bottom of my heart, understand that you are not alone. You're not alone in the way that you think. You're not alone in the way that you feel. And you're not alone in the fight. And as long as you're still sucking wind, there's absolutely hope for a better tomorrow. Love y'all.